Okay, Heritage Homeschool Scholars, welcome back to Virtual World History class. I am Mr. Cox, your host, and we will be teaching today on the Golden Age of Islam. Golden Age of Islam occurred somewhere around the 8th through the 14th century with some debate. Some people saying it started earlier, a few people saying it started a little bit later, doesn't really matter. What is important for you to know is that compared to Western history, this time frame would be around when Charlemagne was conquering and was active in Europe, and about the time of the first Viking raids coming into the coast of England. And this was a period of expansion and conquest in the Arab world, and a lot of history classes don't teach anything about this at all. They don't cover it. And it's too bad because the Renaissance was very important in Western Europe, and the Golden Age of Islam was definitely the high mark, or the Renaissance, if you would, of the Arab world. It really, really was. This was the time of the caliphates, these powerful caliphs, these Islamic leaders, leading to a period. Them being in control and expanding and warring, and this leading to a period of about 600-700 years of cultural, economic, and scientific growth in the Arab world, with significant advancements in things like poetry, astronomy, with the very first known designated observatory. Metallurgy, they discovered Damascus steel. If you know anything about steel working, I know you guys do, that Damascus steel, that folded wavy steel pattern that's so beautiful to look at, and for its time so tough. They were the inventors of that. They were the discoverers of that. Sugar, grain, paper milling, distilling, they all had advancements and discoveries in that. The earliest known chess manual, that's right, chess the game. The earliest known chess manual was actually from the Golden Age of Islam. Engineering, one man in particular on that, but overall, they cranks, valves, flywheels, camshafts, crankshafts. Basically just an almost continuous line of discovery there. Glass making, in fact, how to make glass from stone, they discovered that. Hard hand soap, not soft soap like that mushy squishy soap like we were using, but actually hard soaps. They invented the process for that, and in fact, you can kind of Google this sometime, but they still make traditional soap over there about the same way. It's really cool to watch. The discovery of not only ethanol, but kerosene and petroleum. So, if you're thankful for your car, your kerosene heater, you got who to thank now. Architecture. I know people say, oh, the minaret. Yeah, there was a lot more than that to it too. But the Islamic architecture, the Arab style of architecture, pretty cool. Timekeeping. Huge advancements in weight-driven clocks, water clocks, and even something called a mercury clock, which of course mercury, and a big advancement in timepieces for them. The earliest known university, not from Europe, from actually what would I guess now be Iraq. All right, or Iran. I can't remember. It fails me. I used to know the name of the school too, but I don't want you to know it, so I'm not going to, stud birdie with all that. But some medical advancements also. And if you're a big algebra fan, you just love algebra, you can't wait to go home and do all that algebra homework. You can thank the Golden Age of Islam for that too, because that's when that was invented. All right. In fact, the word algebra is actually derived from an Arabic word. All of this, everything I just said, all of this would predate the Western Renaissance and Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo and all that stuff. This is all before that. So just so you understand that this was not only advanced for its time, it was an earlier time. All right, so now, part two. So we talk about that, and by the way, I would have loved to have done iPad pictures for every one of those inventions, but these classes, they're so hard to upload and download that just the more of that stuff you do, the longer the videos get and the harder it is for people to get them. So that's why I talk so fast. I'm trying to get this through. I would actually date the Golden Age of Islam from 786 through 1258, which would have been the House of Wisdom constructed in Baghdad, to the sack of Baghdad. And so in that time frame, you're talking about over 1.75 million Muslims at this point, the second largest history in the world, second largest religion in the world at that time. So when we talk about the spread of Islam, and you hear about this, and people talk about, the spread of Islam, you Google that and you'll be on your computer the rest of your life. It's an interesting term. It sounds to me almost like, we don't talk about the rise of Catholicism. So why do we talk about the spread of Islam? And a lot of people would say that is because of the way that Islam spread, which I had always been taught, what I was taught about it, was that the spread of Islam came at the point of the sword. The Quran or the sword, convert or die. And I know that's happened in multiple religions, but still, apparently I always thought it was this one too. But I found a few things that actually, that's maybe not as true as people might have taught me. That actually, that like when the Muslims were in control of Jerusalem, you could still be a Christian, you just had to pay the tax. And when the Christians got control of Jerusalem, they did the same thing. That you could still be Islamic and there's no problem. Just pay the tax. There was an Islam tax and a Christian tax depending on who was running the place at the time. Well, that doesn't sound like the point of the sword to me, at least in that instance. And something else that I think a lot of people get, because when they think, and that's why I'm teaching this now, towards the end of the year, not the beginning, because I'm talking about in the time frame of the 1970s. Something happened in the 1970s that was pivotal in the Islamic world, and I want to show you that. Let me drag this guy out here. Let me see here. Any idea what that might have been here? Let me interrupt. You guys think about that a second. Okay, so a couple little snappity shots here from Golden Age of Islam. These are basically art pieces from the time. Kind of neat. You see, it's folks, and looks like, honestly, just like the School of Athens, except for the turbans. I mean, it's just a school of learned people getting together and sharing their ideas. And here's one that's actually a cultural piece. All right there. Pretty good. All right. And here's one that somebody kind of conjured up afterwards to sort of show them working. This looks like in the mathematics field. All right, pretty neat. Okay, so any ideas what happened in 1979 that in 1970s, but actually this particular event in 1979 that would have changed the Islamic world, especially as the outside world sees it? Anybody?
Maybe the Munich Games?
No, that was 1972. 1972 Munich Games. You don't have a clue, do you? All right, that's fine. I'm just kidding. Most people don't know. The 1979, we had what was called the Islamic Revolution. I almost said resolution. Revolution in Iran. Now, how pivotal was that? It was this pivotal. Top, not 1979. Bottom, 1979. All right? From bobby socks to burqas or whatever. I mean, like, you see it, like, pretty hip and trendy. And remember, it was the 70s. The styles were awful. But these young people are in style. The next time, they're covered up. And this was the Islamic Revolution of 1979. It kind of ushered in the age of what I call, what a lot of people refer to as militant Islam. And they talk about that. And the reason that this gets its press in the 1970s was because not only did this happen, but also something else started taking off in the 1970s, and especially around 1979, end of the 1970s. Quote unquote Islamic terror. You know what I mean? These terrorist groups, small but dedicated terrorist groups, acting out and using their faith as their basically their impetus for being able to do this. Excuse me, I'm gonna dry throat here. Hold on 1 second. So let me share a few pics with you. Okay, let me zoom in on for me just a bit, or am I good? Oh, yeah, just give me a little zoom there, thank you. All right, so you got hip and trendy, and kind of less so there on the bottom. All right, and basically, yeah, here's a bunch of kids just hanging out. This is pre-1979. This is Iran, okay, like basically one of the seats of Islam now. You know what I mean? But this is pretty neat, right? Okay, all right, not then, just hippies, man, just hippies. Look at them, right? Look at that hair. Yeah, look who's talking, right? Right here, very fashionable. Very feminine, just I mean these could almost be from America in the 1970s. It really could be, and just like everywhere else, and then all of a sudden it's this, and the Ayatollah don't rock and roll. Okay, so yeah, and this, I mean, this is not 1979. This is obviously post. And you start getting images like this. Here's a nurse before and after. Just pretty same female. Pretty grabbing, I think. The sudden change and tightening of the rules and almost just a hyper, extension of it. And here we go. Oh, and then that of course led to this. Any idea what this is? This might be a picture of.
Like the hostage situation.
The hostage crisis, that's right, the hostage crisis. Jimmy Carter's like, yes, the hostage crisis. I remember, you know what I mean? And but this was the hostage crisis over there, and I don't want to teach specifically on that because that takes the whole class just itself. And then you start seeing after that the trouble thing is, and this is where the problems come from, is you start seeing images like this, the militant Islamic woman, the militant Islamic young men. And you start seeing this, and then about the time you're seeing this, you start to see these spike in terrorist incidents. Now, obviously, Islam is not responsible for all the terrorists that goes on in the world. Tim McVeigh, ring a bell, okay, so right, that kind of thing. But you can see here, especially back here in the 1970s, just this huge influx of terrorism, just all over the place. And some of the Islamic stuff was pretty bold and dashing, and you ended up with images. Here's hijackings. That was a very popular thing to do in the 70s. Get on an airplane, and you're going for sunny Florida. Next thing you're turning around, and it's even sunnier Beirut. All right, so yeah, hijackings and fatalities. You can see it just went nuts there for a while. And you start getting images on your TV screen in the 1970s like this. Obviously, I think it's a Palestinian young man with a gun, you know what I mean? And then he got his hand over the pilot's mouth, and you start seeing things like this, and seeing things like this, and it was very grabbing for the time, especially in the 1970s. Here's a guy, he's got himself a gun and I don't know what the hell, a sack over his head, you know what I mean? And you started seeing these night after night after night. I grew up in the 1970s, and I can remember seeing this on the TV set, not really understanding it. And then one young man here in the class, yes, he did bring it up, probably one of the most infamous terrorism photos of all. This is from the 1972 Munich games, when some terrorists grabbed the members of the Israeli Olympic team and killed them there in the Olympic Village in Munich. And so there's like that. And so people say, okay, these were small groups and things like this, and it's only a percentage. So what's the big deal? Well, it just depends on how you look at it. Another component that a lot of people, I think especially Americans, do not realize, and it doesn't matter how you feel about it, it's just a fact, that whether you like it or don't like it or you want to ignore it or whatever, this is the fastest growing religion on the planet. It is. It's going to change things, and religion, whether you like it or not, has always been a big component of history. And it doesn't matter whether you're talking about American history or you're talking about world history, it doesn't make any difference. Or European history specifically, or whatever, it doesn't matter. Religion has always been a large component of history because of the things that are done, quote unquote, in the name of God. All right, so you can remember. I mean, we've studied time and time again from from the basically all over history to like, maybe what was done to the Aztecs, to the Spanish Inquisition or whatever. I mean, many groups changing history because God told them to do it. So Islam. I'm just gonna kind of hold that out there for you right there, so you don't have to zoom right there. It's the big green bar up on top. Okay, it's the fastest growing religion in the world. It's like if it was plus 70, it's just for scale. Christianity would only be plus 35. Okay, so literally twice as fast as Christianity is growing. Muslims, the Muslim religion is growing. It's growing the fastest by quite a bit. Here's another chart. Just to kind of give you a comparison, just a different chart. Same thing, 73 to 35, even more of a dichotomy. And the age of conversion, because not only are they the fastest growing religion, they're the fastest growing religion with the largest amount of young people. So that means that they're not only the fastest growing religion, they're going to be the fastest growing religion for some time to come. Now, that matters because who's in charge of religions shape the world? I mean, I can go ahead and tell you. I live in America. We've had I don't know how many presidents. Well, like close to 50. Who cares, right? Anyway, and we're going to get a new one soon, right? Yeah. And how many of them been Jewish? Yeah, big goose egg, right? None. How many been Catholic? One. So who's been running America? White Protestants. You know what I mean? Largely. No offense to Barack Obama, but I mean Protestant religion. You know what I mean? You vast majority white male Protestant religion. Does religion affect a country? Yes, it does. Does it affect world history? Absolutely. Absolutely, sure it does. Sure it does, because you bring those ideas into the office with you, whatever the office is. Okay, so if you want to look at percentages of Muslims by country, boom, right there. They are, the green, of course, is the fastest, and all the way to orange. Green down the scale all the way to orange, and the gray countries just aren't really affected. But you can kind of get a real good idea of just how many places in the world. Not only is it the fastest growing religion, not other does it have lots and lots of young people, but it's also spreading everywhere. It's going all over. Well, not America. We ain't done yet. All right, so we'll see. Interesting, right? All right, but interesting where it's going. Canada. I was like, what? Yeah, but whatever. And so that's important. That's important. If you look at it on the world map, here's just another better view. Again, the green would be the spread of Islam. Okay, so it's coming soon to a town near you. All right, so. Oh, look, it's me. All right, so why? Oh, why? If we went from those pictures on the top to the pictures on the bottom, from hippies to burqas, why? Why is Islam the fastest growing religion on the earth? Why? A couple of reasons. So let's cover that, because it's going to end up being important, and it's going to end up being important in your lifetime. Okay, in your lifetime, not mine, yours. And all right, so. All religions have their converts. Okay, female. How do Islam? How do they get a lot of female converts? How do they convert them? Anybody got a guess? Where do female Islamic converts come from? I mean, you're tired of Macy's and you just want to wear that burqa the rest of your life. How do they get their female converts? Any ideas? Oh, come on, fellas.
Born into it?
Marriage, converts. You're not born into being a convert. All right, so marriage. If she marries a Muslim man, what is the requirement for her to marry him?
She's a Muslim.
She's got to convert. And that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. By the way, they ain't the only ones. All right, I'll just go ahead and say that right now. That is not the only religion that happens in. I can attest to that. All right, so it's because I've seen that happen over and over again. And not. In westernized religion. So it is a requirement for the conversion for marriage. America. What populace, male, female, and what ethnicity converts fastest to Islam? Anybody got a guess?
African American.
Huh?
African Americans.
Male or female?
Males.
Males, African American males. Bingo. Got a bingo right there in the corner. African American males. Any idea why? All right, lots and lots and lots of young black men are converted to Islam actually in the U.S. prison system. And who is the largest percentage occupant of the U.S. prison system? Yes, please.
African American.
Young African American men. That's right. That's right. That's the folks in the jails, and at least the largest contingent in the jails. And so yes, that's a very large recruitment ground. And I'll tell you another reason. Another reason is, and I've heard things like this, that African Americans sometimes feel that Christianity is a white religion. Now, I don't like saying that, but I didn't coin the phrase, and it's not actually my theology, but that it's a white religion. And a popular quote is, America is never more segregated than at 11 a.m. on a Sunday morning. Well, that might be true. that might not be crazy. All right, because I mean, you notice there's kind of like there's this church, there's that church, and there's black churches and white churches, and I don't like any of that. But they say America's a pretty segregated place on Sunday morning. Okay, I'll go along with that. And some of the black community has decided that that is not the religion for them. And so Islam is growing because of that. Some feel that a disorganized life would have something to offer by the disciplines, and it is a disciplined religion, the disciplines brought in by Islam, because Islam is not like, well, you can do this or you can do that. It's you can do this right here. And it's a more rigid religion. I would challenge anyone to, take that on and make a good case out of it. It's a pretty doggone dogmatic religion. It really is. And that jives. The average age of Islamic conversion is 31. Anybody got an idea of the average age of Christian conversion by statistic? 16. Almost half of that. Almost half of that. And that would be because these are folks that have gone out and maybe tried something else or haven't ever had a religion, and the discipline and order would appeal to them. All right? Would appeal to them. All right? So, yeah, and okay, I can see that. Yeah, sure enough. All religions tend to lose people as the people get older due to basically people who switch religions. I used to be a this, but now I'm a that. I used to be one of those, but now I'm this over here. You wouldn't want to try that in an Islamic country. Once you're in, you're in. You know what happens if you try to convert to Christianity in most Islamic nations, right? Yeah, you get the chop. All right, that's just the way it is. You can get on YouTube and watch people being beheaded over that sort of thing. You don't leave. You don't leave. So, if you think about that, that makes sense. You're not going to get a lot of converts if leaving could get you killed. Another thing, immigration. By the way, immigration. It's harder to quantify because many countries, including this country, do not actually ask your religious background when you come in. So we don't really know, if every Arab that comes in is, and practices Islam. We don't know that. But traditional Islamic countries contribute about 100,000 immigrants per year. They literally export about 100,000 Muslims a year to other nations. And yes, that will change things because that just changes the balance of the country, especially in areas of Africa, Europe, Asia, and the Caribbean. In the U.S., there are about, some people say there's about 3 million. Some estimates are as high as 4.5 million, or about 1 to 1.5% of the population. Not that much, except for something else that we're going to cover here in just a minute. In some European countries, so that's far different. In France, they're easily 10% of the population. That's right now, that's known. Birth rates. Here's where the balance is going to shift across the globe, is the fact that birth rates, Muslim families have 3 to 5 children per family, just on average. It's not a big Muslim family at all. It's just 3 to 5 on average. How many do Christian families have?
2.
No, 1.8. 1.8, not even 2. And 0.8 kids are funny looking. All right, yeah, but not even 2 people. Not even 2 people. People say, wait, how can that be? If there's only a mom and a dad and they have 1.8 kids, that doesn't even replace who's dying off. Bingo. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. So that would mean that conversions to the faith would be the only way it could grow. The Islamic world has that too, and a fantastically high 3 to 5 kids per family birth rate. So they're out converting you and they're out producing you. All right, so yeah, so right there. Muslims themselves, the Muslim world claims that it will overtake Christianity by 2050 at least. All right, by 2050 at least. That is looking like that might actually even be true, and that might not be that might not be an idle claim. All right, so I don't really have a homework assignment geared to this. I just like to teach on this because honestly, it's going to be a real globe shifter. It's going to shift. It's going to shift the lines around on the globe pretty good here one of these days, and the way that the countries are colored in and things like that. And it's going to be a big factor here in your lifetimes. I'll go ahead and just guarantee it. So what you got is you got a religion that's easy to get into, very difficult to get out of. And the families that they have are just absolutely huge, and that's why they're the fastest growing religion on there. And I also kind of wanted to touch base again, and I always start this off with that golden age of Islam because nobody ever teaches on it. I got in and out of public school, 13 years of education before I went to college, and I never heard one thing about it. I don't ever remember it even being mentioned in passing, and I think that's too bad for something that obviously covered 600-700 years of world history, just not in that particular part of Europe. It seems we're always gathered around. So your homework is chapter 30. Just do the questions. I don't have any questions as far as this. Next week that'll probably be different. And just go ahead and do chapter 30 for me, and just do the highlighted questions like we do. And I miss you guys very much, and wish I was teaching you in the class and getting to see your bright smiling faces. Okay, but till then, you hang in there and get me that homework. Okay, all right, bye bye.